Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox, and I am coming to you today with a review for Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 6, The Reunion, Part 2. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, right? Alright, so let's get to it, shall we? So the show starts where it left off last week, okay? Everybody's back situated on the couch. We got Andy in the middle, fake Karen, letting us all know that Bravo does not tolerate or condone violence, physical violence at any level. Really? I mean, if we would just go back over the seasons of all of the Real Housewives franchises, I would beg to differ, but whatever. And then to validate my point, they go on and talk about the fight that just happened that they don't condone for 10, 15 more damn minutes. I was just like, why we keep on talking about it if you don't condone it and you don't support it? And you guys already know how I feel about it. I'm not going there. Look, y'all can have at it about Portia and Kenya down there, whether or not who deserved what, all of that. I'm so through with it. I'm not even talking about it today. Now, moving on to Nene and Phaedra's newfound friendship. They showed clips of Nene and Phaedra, when they did their road trip to Athens with Chuck. Okay, they showed them talking to the Boys and Girls Club. Everything was all good with the two of them. They also did show, the shady parts with Chuck and Natalie. The fact that Natalie tried to downplay the relationship that Phaedra and Kandi both had with Chuck. Basically played herself. Y'all remember all of that. So Andy asked Kandi how did she feel about the statements that Chuck had made, and Kandi was just like, I just was offended over the fact that he tried to act like we didn't really date. He dated both Phaedra and I. He tried to just make it look like I was just some fucking slut bucket that he came in all the time, and that's really not what it was. Then as far as Nene and Phaedra's friendship, I was with Nene. I was just like, if Nene and Phaedra have decided to bury the hatchet and move on with their friendship as grown women, why the hell do we keep on rehashing that they didn't used to talk, and Nene used to say she didn't know Phaedra back in the day? And I mean, the shit is, at this point, is asked and answered. Even when Andy asked Kandi, how does she feel about them two being friends all of a sudden, and Kandi was just like, she didn't really understand it because, they never got along. It was just like, yeah, but, why we can't make up? That's, so I was with Nene. She was just like, people trying to keep this shit going for whatever reason, and it's unnecessary. We, talked. I did apologize for that head doctor statement. That was something that I had heard, but it was inappropriate, like Nene would like to say, and I apologized to her. And then Phaedra was just like, well, I was always smart in school, and, I never had that reputation. And then, here come Kenya throwing in her 2 cents, like, excuse me, it is in the court documents. And Phaedra's like, fool, ain't nobody even talking about that. That damn Kenya gonna always try to make sure she get her little jab in. But yeah, Phaedra can hang with her too. So again, the shit started up with Kenya not being a housewife. That's their favorite go-to jab at Kenya. And Kenya was just like, honey, what the fuck I need to worry about it for, okay? In your man's dreams, I'm his housewife. But Phaedra was quick to come back and call her barren woman. I was just like, oh, these two. Now, the best part of the entire evening for me was Mama Joyce. That Mama Joyce, her ass was fucking lit, okay? She was on something. I know that Kandi tweeted yesterday that her mother doesn't drink and she was not drunk that night, and I was just like, you would want your mama to be drunk, okay? At least have some reason for the foolishness. That damn Mama Joyce was off the fucking chain, wasn't she? I mean, she was acting like that kind of drunk that your Auntie Shirley is at the annual 4th of July picnic about 6 p.m., okay? Been drinking ever since 12, okay? She just on one. I mean, smiling and cackling. I mean, even her voice was different. And, people were on Twitter yesterday and people were saying how they felt sorry for Kandi. Listen, I refuse to feel sorry for Kandi. Kandi always supports Mama Joyce's bullshit. I'm not saying financially. I'm talking about she just kind of takes it with a grain of salt. So if she takes it with a grain of salt, then what is I'm getting all upset and excited for it too? I'm just going to take it for entertainment's value. Side note, there's a rumor that Mama Joyce, Tiny's mother, and Rashida's mom are shopping around a reality show, or at least there's an idea that is going around. I guess that might be the show that Mama Joyce, she was on the radio the other day and she was saying that she had an idea for Todd's production company, okay, because she said she want to help him out too. I guess Miss Evelyn was like, fuck that, you ain't fixing to get me on here with these three. Although Tiny's mom, I have never not heard that woman say anything. I like her, you know. She's never been any issue. Why would she want to put her life on display, especially with Rashida's mom, who I did not buy her act last, you know, Love and Hip Hop ATL. I just feel like she was doing way the most. And then of course Mama Joyce, we already know her foolishness and shit. You know, why would Tony's mama want to be on the show with that? I don't know why they would want to do that, but you know, everybody is like so attracted to the reality show right now. But anyways, back to the show. Honey, Mama Joyce and took out her best curly wig and shook that bitch out. Went to Macy's, got her a hot pink ball gown, and honey, she was just like, fuck it, I'm fixing to give it to him. When she first gets there, and you know, Andy was just like, you look good. Yes, I lost 40 pounds. He said, you lost 40 pounds how? From stress. I wish I'd have met Todd 5 years ago. I've been trying to lose weight. I done tried every diet around. Who would have known I could have lost all this weight? So, y'all, Andy asked her, did she regret anything? I regret that they said that I tried to set him up. Because that was the time that they came after me and said some stuff mean to me on Twitter and on Instagram. They never said anything before. I did not try to set him up. And Kandi was just like, my mama wants Todd to be doing something so bad that if anybody has anything to say, she gonna listen. And you guys know why Mama Joyce was so mad, right? Because up until that point, everybody was pretty much riding with her. But then when we see you trying to set up covert missions to set up Todd, a side note, Todd's wave game is awful proper, right? I was just like, that nigga probably got Dudleys in every room. He just be brushing. You know how people with waves, they just be brushing the shit, wave caps everywhere. Anyway, back to what I was saying. They ripped her a new asshole when that shit went down with her trying to set Todd up. And, you know, she wasn't really happy with that. They started talking about the questions that people wrote in. Had a 71-year-old mother of four say that she has no respect for Joyce. And she could not call her Mama Joyce because, in her opinion, the title Mama has to be earned. I ain't trying to be her mama anyway. Next question. When was the last time that Joyce dragged somebody up and down the street? Tell her it's been a long time, but I can still wrap up a good wig. You know, then they start talking about how they don't condone violence and all that shit. But I was looking at Mama Joyce and I was like, I bet you that bitch probably could whoop somebody's ass back in the day. She kind of, you know, she looked like she got it in her. Okay, although I don't want to see Mama Joyce as no 60 whatever, however many years old this lady is. I don't want to see no old ass people fighting. Y'all already know how I feel about that. Then Andy asked her about choking out Phaedra. Oh, that was just a little something in the office. And it would have been behind closed doors anyway. Why is it that you be okay with Kandi's boyfriends until shit gets serious and then all of a sudden you flip? How does she even know? She don't even know how many guys there's been for me to have flipped on. And then Andy was just like, wait a minute now, on season 2 we saw you flip with AJ. Well look, she saw AJ have 3 kids at first, then before you know it, it was 6 kids. Ask her, did she know that? And then tell her to call me. Next question. Go on to the next question, Andy. Yo, that shit was funny to me. And so then Andy was just like, well, what is it that you have against Todd? I don't have nothing against Todd because Todd is doing everything right. If my son was alive, and I would push him in the direction of Todd. If he was alive, I would push him on you. Talking to Kenya. Or you. Talking to Cynthia. Cynthia was just like, I'm married. And then Andy was just like, well, wait a minute, what about me? And she was just like, honey, Andy, if he went that way, then I would show direct him towards you. You know why? Because Andy is fucking paid, and Mama Joyce is about them coins first. Then Andy asked her, how does Todd's parents feel about her? She called me a bitch, but she ain't got nothing. I got too much. I started to come across that table, but then I thought about my bread again. And then Kandi, you didn't think, Mama, we held you down. The next question, Andy asked her if she's worried about a meal ticket. Look, tell her that when she raised her daughter to be a millionaire, and then she go and marry 100-aire. Okay, tell her to give me a call then. Yes, I understand that you was there for Kandi, and you know, as your mother, as her mother, you did a lot for her. But you know, she was taking all the credit. Okay, fuck talent. Fuck the fact that Kandi was in a hit-selling group. Fuck the fact that Kandi was doing all the hard work. I'm sure. No. Mama Joyce said this was all her.
I got up at 2 in the morning so my children could have the very best.
Do you have to work now, Mama Joyce?
No, I don't have to, because let me tell you, I have a house that is completely paid off. I got money in the bank savings, and I got every kind of diamond that you would want. Amen.
Yeah, it was a fucking mess. And you know, Kandi, she comes in and she was just like, when they was asking her if she's, worried about Kandi's money. You know, Kandi has told us plenty of times that she is not going to ever take it to the extreme where she's not going to take care of her mother, not give her money, stop talking to her, anything like that. But you see that shit started to get personal, okay? Kandi was just like, wait a minute, mama. Now, do you want me to just listen, or do you want to tell the truth?
Tell the truth.
Well, mama, a while ago, a couple of years, you had credit cards in my name, and I didn't know nothing about them, so I had to take my checkbook back away from you. Joyce was like,
that was one time, just one time.
And I had to give you extra money to subsidize that.
You gave me $700 a month.
Yeah, mama, because you were spending the rest on gambling and home shopping network. Yeah, the shit was going left, and it was about to start talking about their personal business. I think Kandi finally realized that, okay, I'm fixing to say too much, let me stop. She almost started with the broke up cry, but she was able to rein it in. I was like, Kandi, girl, don't do it. Don't cry on this episode, please. All this shit with Kandi and Joyce, we just have to understand the dynamics of the relationship. It's always going to be that way, and it's really nothing else that we could do about it. But I'm telling you, that fucking Joyce cracked me up. And you guys, as far as Cynthia and Nene's friendship, it was sad to me that, this was the end. It was hard to watch on TV. Cynthia was crying, and, Nene was kind of her stubborn, bullheaded self. And, I guess we are all pretty glad that Cynthia's finally seen the light and saw exactly where she stood, in her and Nene's friendship, at least from what we could see on television. But I gotta say that I also understand Nene's point as well. Listen, what this problem here is a case of a giver friend and a taker friend. We all have had a taker friend in our life at one point or the other. Okay, you doing all the calling, you doing all the inviting. Come on, girl, let's go do this. They don't never invite you over to their house. You just kind of get the feeling that you doing a lot of the work in this friendship. The taker friend never really puts that much effort into it because you're doing everything. A lot of times taker friends don't even realize that they're the taker friend because that's what they've always been. They've always been the one that's been catered to. So what happens is once you realize that you just giving, and your taker friend is just taking, and you realize that you're working way too hard, then eventually you see the light. And I think that that's where Cynthia is. I think Cynthia may have had an epiphany. She also probably has people in her ear telling her all this time that she's been the giver friend way more than Nene has. And, it's come to a head now. Now, of course, I understand Nene's part because Nene's just like, well, everything been fine, okay? We got over that shit. We done hung out New Year's, Thanksgiving, birthdays, Vegas, trips, out to dinner, squashed everything. And then all of a sudden, now that episode aired, me calling Peter a bitch, now it's a problem again. We've already gotten past this, and I can't help the fact that Cynthia all of a sudden is letting people influence her. I don't know if it is or isn't the case, okay? People might be influencing Cynthia, but there also comes a time in people's lives when they realize even if somebody has to keep fucking telling you, okay, you doing way too much for this friendship, okay, and it's not reciprocated. And this is the reaction that taker friends have. Taker friends are pissed because, like I said, they don't even know. They don't see it coming. They have no idea. This is how it's always been. Why all of a sudden you got a problem with it? They feel like they've been doing whatever it is that they needed to do to maintain this friendship all this time. So, I just kind of understand the dynamics of their relationship. It is kind of fucked up that it worked out this way on television. Nene is like, I want to, have a talk with her away from all these people who don't care about our friendship. That is the reality show beast. Okay, this is what happens when you open your life up to the public. Then all of the public has an opinion. And you do the show, but then you get real life repercussions. Public pressure is a lot. And, you know, even though the timing is bad, I just really feel like Cynthia probably has seen the light. Cynthia has been very loyal to Nene, you know, to a fault, to the point, like I said, that we would get very upset with her. And we've said some horrible shit about Cynthia in the past, and she's never broken. So, you know, finally, for it to be seen this year, it has to be something more than just people in her ear. I mean, I really feel like maybe she realizes that this friendship is not really serving her. I understand that Nene feels blindsided. I totally get it. You know, she put up this whole long thing on her Instagram yesterday, and she's been kind of on it ever since. You know, and that was probably in retaliation for Cynthia going on to Watch What Happened Live, and, you know, basically saying that Nene has never really been a friend to her. Now she sees, because for her to even come on the show and try to get her fired off a show, you know, saying that, you know, Cynthia is irrelevant. Cynthia was just like, you know, God makes me relevant. I'm going to always be relevant either with or without this show. Yeah, the show definitely helps with the relevancy, though. But what I don't understand is Nene got on to Watch What Happens Live and said all that shit about Cynthia, but then she gets upset when Cynthia goes on the same show and does the same thing. Like we've always said, Nene can dish that shit out, but she can't take it. I just think that it's too bad that shit worked out like this, but like I said, give or take her friendships, this is exactly how the shit always ends. Alright, you guys, so that's it. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm itsrox. The channel is for itsrox, and everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. Alright? Alright. So, I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Until next time, Roxstars. Bye.